right, y'all, so back with another hit with me, and coming with a little bit of a request here. We've had some hitters recently, actually in-house and remote, just do some conversations, mention that they don't have a ton of resources, or maybe that they have a sock net and a tee and some balls and a bat. Don't have a lot of tools, don't have a lot of resources, and so I kind of wanted to take it like a little old school here, and do some drill work and go through a routine. If maybe you're in that similar situation where maybe you just got your bat, some balls, and a tee, and maybe somewhere to hit, maybe an open field sock net, something like that, while still getting some good movement qualities, and then also to utilizing some type of constraints with the tools that we do have. So the first thing I want to start with is, again, I just got my game bat here, normal length. And so let's say we don't have a short bat or something that is similar to that, like a T-ball bat or whatever. Just a simple way to get a similar effect is to just choke up pretty heavily on your game bat, right? And make it a little bit shorter lever here. And so what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go from launch, or like my two-strike approach, let's say, with a short bat choked up, and just a little bit low and away tee, not that low, just a little bit off the plate here, and really work on staying down in my hinge, staying low with my posture too, not standing up, not spinning, not yanking here, and really staying in the ground, holding the ground too, and staying on this pitch as long as possible. And so, as I mentioned, I'm gonna take a few swings here, handful of them, get to my launch position, choke up on my bat, and just like that. Okay, so this one's for those people out there that like to get their work in on their own, or maybe get their work in at times when everyone else is busy. Like that. So something that you'll tend to see with this too is it's really easy when you choke up the bat to feel a little bit lighter, to just throw my hands. And so throughout some different drills, the rest of the session, we'll kind of address that too, to make sure that we're hitting every part of the spectrum. We don't want to push our hands. We also don't want to just spin and yank with our body, etc. And then also too, we want to hit different parts of the zone, out front, deep, away, and some stuff like that. So don't worry too much about that, and just worry about staying more anchored in the ground, hold my hinge, and work on that posture. A couple more with the choked up grip. And do one more here. Really try to finish chest over home, butt behind heels. That's a good cue for me when finishing in posture / side bend here. Okay, good thing we finished on that one. Lost the mic, but we back in business. So, the next drill we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our regular grip, and we're gonna go high tee. And we don't wanna be too high, and so something that's really common is hitters will raise the tee up really high, because this looks like the top of the zone when they're standing here, or maybe that's a little exaggerated, right? This looks like the top of the zone, but when they get into posture, boom, this then becomes about chest high, which is well above the strike zone. And so just something to be conscious of too is high tee, but make it according to our posture and the position we're getting to at launch, not from the starting position. And so if I start standing up, but when I stride, I land in posture, this pitch is pretty high here, and we can over-exaggerate it to emphasize more of a flat pass, so I'm not shifting, dumping the barrel, dropping the hands, etc. But we don't want it to be too crazy high where I'm getting this like tomahawk chop over my head. So here we go, just from launch, a little bit of high tee, and just trying to pepper the back net with a line drive, keep a flat barrel. And again too, everything that we do, just gonna do groups of like 5 or 6 swings, nothing too crazy. Just a nice little pre-game routine or something to do on your own in the cage. You'll notice too, another thing is with a lot of these drills is I'm not trying to swing too hard on a lot of these drills. I'm worried about the movement quality and executing the purpose of the drill too. And so very common off the tee is a lot of hitters want to get big and they want to start swinging way harder than they need to. But when the ball's not moving, we can get away with some moves that we might not necessarily be able to in game, or when the ball's moving, changing speed, spins, etc. And so really keeping a focus more on the moves and executing the purpose of the drill here than we are trying to hit a double or hit a ball 90 mile an hour here. And so like I said, high tee here, just trying to pepper line drives right back at the back net, like face high of the middle infielders. Do a couple more of these. Give me more flat, barrel across my chest. Last one of these bad boys. And then we'll be on to the next. And so what you'll see too is a lot of hitters, they'll do one of two things. Is they'll get really steep and chop down to try to stay above this ball, which we don't necessarily want to just yank with the shoulders and almost pull this down towards our hip, kind of like the sword motion that pitchers have loved to start doing here recently. Or two, what you'll see them is they'll hit the bottom of the tee and pop it up a lot. There are one of two extremes there, and we want to stay more flat too, and just face high line drives on that drill there. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do deep tee from launch here and really focus on creating space in this barrel depth to get behind this ball. And really my external focus is thinking, can I hit a good backspin line drive to the 4-hole over the first baseman's head? I don't want to see it side spin, which I know can be a little bit harder in the cage to see, but if you're out on a field, something like that too, keeping that in mind is we don't want to see the ball flaring off sideways like foul territory. We want to stay more 4-hole first baseman and see if we can backspin this too. And really important with how we get stretched and the depth that I create with my pelvis, my hips, and how I get loaded here early on. So we're gonna go deep tee. You can see this is kind of like in my midline here, belly button, not too far out front, but not too crazy deep here as well. And so just gonna go from launch and try to drive this over the first baseman's head. This would be good for a lot of hitters that lunge to the front side here, or really heavy in their front side, pull the ball, or really low line drives and ground balls, pull side, yank and spin, etc. Forces them to get re-anchored back in with their backside. Then also too how they get stretched and not pushing from that backside, and how they get stretched and get to that launch position properly to be able to drive this pitch. And so a lot of hitters that are really pull heavy, yank with the back, spin, push, lunge under the front side. This can be a little bit challenging, but really good for them to kind of counter what they're already doing. It's nice and easy, focus on the movement here, not so much trying to hit a bomb or a double. Cool. And this is really good for hitters too, really early on, to think about staying that opposite field approach and staying behind the ball. And so too, a lot of hitters that really want to get jumpy and try to go get the ball, lose adjustability, and are committing early or cheating to fastballs. This can be another thing too as we get to BP or front toss is really thinking about staying this like 4-hole over the first baseman's head too, with a line drive to help them with that as well. Sweet. Now for this next drill, and we're just going to put the tee a little bit further out front than normal. It's going to be outside our normal contact point where we want to make a connection barrel to ball, and really focus on too is if I lose direction, I spin or I yank with the shoulders, I'm going to cut across this ball really bad. And so again, just going to be in my launch position. I'm really going to emphasize too, almost like if I'm like fooled on a slider type feel of kind of like shooting this back up the middle, keeping my chest sideways as long as I can and letting my arms carry out towards the pitcher. Or another cue that we'll give hitters is chase the ball out of the zone here. And again, one of two extremes here. We did one really extreme deep, and now we're gonna go one out front as well, and really working on getting this trunk to stop, stay sideways, and let my barrel and chase the ball out of the zone here for these next few. And so goal here is just to take this line drive right back up towards the pitcher. And I don't want to flare it, and I don't want to stay really steep and just chop it straight down either. And so something that you'll see here too is some hitters will want to get pushy with their hands and throw their hands. This could be actually a decent little over-exaggeration for some hitters that get stuck and their hands never get away from their body. They keep it in really tight in like their armpit area. And so it's something to be conscious of, is that we're not just pushing our hands. We still do want to rotate to that position. We don't want to just throw our hands, but it is something that can be a good option late of stopping the trunk and letting the hands keep going and the barrel keep going as well. So just something to be conscious of with some of your hitters as well. Just do one more of these bad boys. Keep a nice little low line drive right at the infielders here, and we'll move on. Overspun that one a little bit, started to lose that backside, over rotated a little bit, and then I had to throw my hands for direction there, and we see a little bit more of a backspin on that ball. But overall, it wasn't bad for that drill in particular, so we're gonna move on to the next. This next drill that we're gonna do is just our game swing now. We're gonna add in our forward move and our stride, but we're gonna keep a focus on being balanced or stable at the end of our swing here and hold the finish for 2 seconds. And you'll notice too, at the end of my swing, I'm going to look down at my lower half and some of the positions that I finished in and really bring awareness to the positions I'm finishing in at the end of my swing. Am I over rotated? Is my foot out of the ground? Did my foot pop forward? Am I standing up? Am I hunched over the plate? You know, different positions like that, and really bring awareness to how I'm finishing here. So go ahead, mix in some game swings here at the end, a little bit of a stride, hold the finish for 2 seconds. Cool. Not bad. Something I really struggle with too is driving this knee forward, and you'll see myself shifting to my front side here. And so you'll see me stand up more out of my front hip. And so something I'm gonna be trying to bring some awareness to and work on these next couple swings is being able to just get to my launch position and rotate from an anchored position with my feet and hold this hinge with my front hip and not stand up out of it and lean over with my trunk. So give this a couple tries with that focus here, get into my launch position, emphasize getting there, getting anchored, and then rotating from there. Not bad. And notice another thing too, throughout the session, I've stayed more center field to right center here, not getting to the point where I'm starting to pull the ball off the tee here, because I know through experience and just time and time again with hitters, as they get off the tee, when they start trying to pull balls off the tee, they start over rotating, yanking with their back, pulling themselves out of posture, dragging the barrel, but they're able to get the barrel there when the ball's not moving. But as we progress back to soft toss, overhand, or machine, they typically tend to struggle with those moves. And so another thing to keep in mind too is my ball flight off the tee. I want to stay pretty consistent with anything, but more than anything on some of these drills too, is I want to stay center field to right center with my ball flight. And so something that you can do is on the field, just pay attention to where all your balls end up, or like in the cage, pay attention to where you're hitting them location wise. And so sometimes too, you'll see people do like quadrants of the back screen where they try to hit it in the right corner or bottom right corner, etc. Or to just where they finish up and they roll. And so you can see for the most part, everything's middle to right side of the cage at the back net here. And so, and just bringing some awareness to some of the ball flight, because it can be really telling for how we're moving. Cool, cool. Let's do one more. Cool, cool. So that's all I got for kind of like an old school tee routine, just bat, ball, and using our body and some of the tools that we do have that are really common to our advantage here. Working on some posture, working on being able to decel, some extension, also some spacing and some barrel depth, as well as some barrel control here. And then also to bringing some awareness to some of the positions that we're getting to at the end of our swing, at our launch position, etc. And so running into that issue where maybe all you have is a bat and ball and you're seeing everybody using different tools, tech, etc. Something that's pretty simple is pretty easy to find a tee and some baseballs, maybe some old balls or something like that, some wiffle balls, a cage, a sock net, an open field, etc. That you can go find and do a little bit of an old school routine that can still has a lot of value to it, and focus on our movements and some positions that we're getting to as well that play in game. And so if you guys have any other recommendations, feel free to reach out and let us know. But until next time.